Hey everybody, it's me, DiogenZ, and it's time for Pokemon of the Week. This week we've only got one short but sweet set, and it's from the Johto region. It's Ampharos. Looking at this Pokemon, I was very disappointed to see how its base stats and move pool was arranged. This is one of those Pokemon that stays away from the sweeper realm because while it does have a high special attack and you think, oh, right away, special sweeper, it does not have any significant speed on it, and its move pool is rather slender. But even so, we have some things to work with. Now, an interesting thing I want to point out to you, something that could potentially boost the power of your moves if you're in a double battle, but since I normally don't double battle and I know commonly metagame is played with single player only, although it does go both ways. If you do get in a double battle and you have the ability called Plus, if you have Plusle or Minun out on the field with you and Ampharos, your power of moves gets a 1.5 times boost. So that's pretty beneficial, but that's only going to work if you're doing a double battle with Plusle or Minun, and off the top of my head, I really can't promise you that those two, Plusle and Minun, will be great metagame match partners, but hey, it's how you boost up with plus ability. So I went with a more sound ability, one that will work for single as well as double battle. It's static, and that allows you to have the potential to paralyze your opponent when they hit you with a physical move. The nature is going to be quiet because, just like last week's set, I really didn't expect us to have another Trick Room Pokemon so quickly, but you're going to want to have Trick Room on your team when you use Ampharos. Since it has no speed, and really it has such a pathetic, pitiful base of 55, don't expect to outrun anything. Instead, you have to switch up the physics and rules of the battlefield, use Trick Room beforehand, 5 turns, give it some time to be out and be striking first in 5 turns, so the sooner you can get Ampharos out after the Trick Room, the better. And hopefully this quiet nature will make it so that even if you come across a Snorlax, you still might have the speed advantage. Although I doubt that's possible. Snorlax is slow. Its only weakness is to ground, so that's good. It can be easily countered with a ghost type, or not a ghost type, but a flying type rather. A ghost type with levitate would also apply. So that's a good way to swap out, and what you may want instead of Thunder, well, I'm not really sure why you'd want a non-offensive move that you could use time and time again, but you do have this option to use Volt Switch, so maybe you could think about putting Volt Switch on there instead of Thunder. But the idea with this team, or not this team, but this set, but the team in the background that you have getting the support ready for this Pokemon is 2 steps in a process. It's Rain Dance, and then of course it is doing Trick Room so that it can get a speed 1-up, get the striking advantage over your faster opponents that normally would beat you out in that speed stat. So when you get over to the EVs, it's kind of a jumble. I was curious, what am I going to do with this? It's like a whole set of useless EVs because I don't care to upgrade its special defense or defense. I mean, I suppose if you really wanted this to be a more balanced set, you could take the 252 maxed out HP and then distribute it evenly amongst defense and special defense, but why do that? Its real goal and main focus for being out on the field is striking with that heightened special attack. And yes, we have to do a couple of things to make that possible, i.e. Rain Dance and Trick Room, but once it's out on the field, we just want it to wreak havoc. So in my mind, I think the more hit points it has, the better off for doing that kind of goal we can reach. But if you've got a better idea for how to rearrange the EVs, I'm all ears. Really had no idea what to do with this one this week, just because it really kind of stumped me with its limited move pool. That's really often the case with Pokemon that are not in the overused category. I, again, don't go by tier sets here when I do this series, and I'm not even sure what Ampharos falls into, because there's multiple tiers for multiple groups of metagames, whether you're on Smogon or Pokemon Online. Either way, I'm not sure, and the problem with this one is that, yeah, it's got that power. but it doesn't have the moves to back it up. Who cares if you have all this mounding power on one stat if you don't have the proper moves to unleash it, if you don't have the right channels to show people what the special attack power is all about? But even with that said, even with the limited move pool, you still do have a nice selection of moves that will give you some good variability in type deflection. Now, we've already mentioned this before, Thunder, it's an option. I advise you of this. If you want to expedite the setup and supporter process that it takes to get this Pokemon out on the field, then don't include Thunder. If you don't want it to have all these unnecessary steps, all these extra things just to make it usable in the match, switch out Thunder with Volt Switch. This way, every time it uses it, yes, it's a stab that ends up sending back the Pokemon to its Pokeball, but that's fine. You gotta figure, if you're using an effective electric type move in whatever situation you can, your opponent's not going to be switching out to another water Pokemon or a flying Pokemon. They're going to be switching out to something of a ground Pokemon to take out your Ampharos nice and fast. So you're going to want to have that Volt Switch. Now, the one thing you want to worry about if you have Volt Switch, and that's why I highly advise you put Hidden Power on here, Hidden Power Water, that is, on this set, is because the ground types, they are not affected by electric type moves, and guess what? Volt Switch, it's not like U-Term, it's not a bug type move, it's an electric type, so it will completely cancel out your switch, and then you're going to have to do a hard switch and waste a turn just to get out of the Earthquake's way. So if you're up against a ground type, and this is where it could get kind of hectic in who has the priority over who, because there are a lot of ground types out there who have even slower speed stats than Ampharos, but hopefully you don't encounter them. If you do, though, what you can hope to hang on with is Hidden Power, because with Water, it's a powerful 75 special attack move. That's the lovely thing about Hidden Power for those special attackers out there who have a limited move pool. This Pokemon has Fire Punch. That would have been a great move to include if it was a physical attacker, and it's not. So you see how it's got moves that are valuable, but not valuable for its special attack stat. So Hidden Power will give you that extra boost. Life Orb, as always, will give you the extra power, 30% power that you could use to eliminate your opponent in a one-hit KO maneuver. Or you could have Expert Belt to add power to super effective moves and not lose any health if you're into that. What you might also want to consider is a Focus Sash on it, just because of the whole ground type issue, because ground types can really brick this set. If you have a very slow ground opponent that comes out onto the field, you're going to have to know your Pokemon a little bit and kind of feel out the situation. If you know that, okay, wow, for example, say a Snorlax does get on the field, I'm pretty sure, without ever looking at its stats, that it's going to be slower than my Ampharos. So if that thing has Earthquake on it, I'm pretty screwed. I better switch out in anticipation of this, or, at least switch out to a flying type to test the waters to see if it really does have Earthquake on this Snorlax set, and then I could switch back out if all is safe and sound with Ampharos and finish it off with the Focus Blast. Focus Blast is great. It's a very strong move, but just like Thunder, it's a little inaccurate. And unfortunately, unlike Thunder, you can't do anything to the weather effects to make it happen more succinctly. You can't do it in a way that will increase the accuracy. I'm supposing you could include the zoom lens or whatever scope item it is that would increase your accuracy, but that only increases it by a little bit, and having one item for only one move is kind of a risky idea. I rather put an item on there that boosts up the power of all my moves if possible. So with Focus Blast, it's a good move, but here's hoping it hits. And Signal Beam to take out any dark type Pokemon, and also because Signal Beam was one of the last strong special attacks that I could include in this set. It's not a bug type, so it's not going to be getting any stab bonus from it, and normally I wouldn't really use Signal Beam, but in all sets that I come across on this series, I gotta find the way to maximize each Pokemon, no matter what tier they fall under, no matter how many moves they have, no matter how many supporter moves, whatever they have to be. I have to find out what kind of Pokemon they are meant to be in the metagame, and so far it seems like this is a special attacking type, but I cannot call this a sweeper simply because it does not have the speed. But with this set, you should be able to move around some of those hindrances that it does have. Let me know if you've versed with an Ampharos in the past before. If you have you done the EV training in any of a different method than I have, and have you switched up the moves at all? Because looking through the set list, I saw a lot of physical moves. You know, it'd be really nice if this thing had high physical attack, but it doesn't. You know, it had plenty of physical moves, but the special move pool was a little thin. So let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm DiogenZ. Remember to comment, subscribe to Planet Poke for more Pokemon-esque excellence, and include a video response to this video of next week's Pokemon of the Week to be included in the series and get a shout out. I'll see you then.